This is Gabriel Custodiet of Watchman Privacy. I know why you're here. You're looking to escape the technocratic apparatuses that you see slowly enveloping you and restraining your freedom. For the fundamentals of privacy, you should start by visiting escapethetechnocracy.com to see my video tutorials, books, and other resources for getting off the surveillance grid. Watchman Privacy and Escape the Technocracy are leading the fight for privacy, and unlike just about any other show, we practice what we preach. Private payment options, no threat modeling, no statist or collectivist solutions, and no sponsors, ever. You know what that means? It means we can speak the unmitigated truth as we see it. Your support alone determines the future of this show. Go support you and me at escapethetechnocracy.com. I'm very pleased to have back for the third time, a third-time guest. This is Joe Doran. I first heard Joe Doran from reading Trends Journal. That's trendsjournal.com, where he writes a section on privacy, big tech, impending technology, artificial intelligence, censorship, basically all the good stuff. He has also made available you can find them on Amazon. He has collected a lot of these articles. He's put them in book form. We'll be sharing these in the links. Definitely worth your time to pick up one of those, not only to support the guy for sharing his information on the show, but they're very, very informative. He's approaching this in a measured way, and he's out there trying the tools, doing very good journalistic work. So, Joe Doran, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Well, gosh, thank you for that introduction, Gabriel, and thanks for having me back. It's great to be back.
My pleasure. Let's start off by discussing AI. This is a topic that we have covered in each of our previous interviews. I had you take a look at the episode with Eric Voorhees on Venice AI. Eric is a staunch libertarian, and so he thinks that essentially the scraping of data by all these AI companies, there's no way to really regulate it out of existence. There's no way really to stop it. You can do it at this point from your own computer on your own home. You could potentially arrange this as an individual, and that the information, the free information on the internet that any human could learn from and train themselves to be an artist or what have you. That's simply what the AIs are doing. So let's first get your commentary on that, because you had some strong words in our previous interviews and in your articles about how AI is basically hijacking the information of the internet. So there's a little bit of a conflict here. What are your thoughts?
Well, I have books on Amazon. If somebody wants to plunder those books and say, well, I don't need to compensate that guy, I have an issue with that. So to me, that's not libertarian. That is just stealing. What the guy said in the interview with you, I agree that, the AIs that we're creating, they shouldn't be constrained. They shouldn't be caged the way they are. Although I will say this, I wrote an article in early 2023 that counseled creatives, that counseled writers, that counseled visual artists. Hey, you've got a great opportunity here as a human creative. They're constraining AI and they're not letting AI talk about certain things. They're not letting AI visualize certain things. This is actually good for you. Go full retard as far as a creative. Do those verboten things. Say those things that they don't want you to say. Create that art. Create that song, create that novel, be erotic, write porn, do whatever you want to do that they won't let you do. Say the politically incorrect things, because guess what? They just gave you an opportunity and a niche to make a great living, because AI won't create it. So that's kind of my view on that. At the same time, I don't mind AIs that are free and that are not constrained by all the bull that you see on the major platforms. Regarding the view that it's okay, AI is just like a human learner. It takes things from the internet and from books and things just like humans take things. That's the way we learn. Well, there are a couple problems with that. I mean, first of all, as I said, you can't just take things on the internet because it's on the internet and say, well, it's on the internet, so it's free. Try using a Beatles song or a Hendrix song in your YouTube video and see how fast it gets slapped down, or see how fast they monetize it and take away the monetization from you. Because guess what? Things can be copyrighted and still be on the internet. You can listen to all kinds of songs on the internet on YouTube every day. You can watch a movie or whatever. That doesn't mean it's out of copyright, and that doesn't mean you have rights to do whatever you want with it. The same thing goes for a news story. It goes for the Trends Journal website or any place else. Being on the internet is not the equivalent of being free and not having IP protection. The other issue with it is that, come on, AI learns at a scale and at a depth and breadth that no human can hope to match at this point. And it's only going to get worse from here. So if that doesn't cry out for new IP laws that are specific to this radically new technology, which can swallow all of human knowledge and then spit it out faster on any subject with more expertise than any human, then I don't know what cries out for an IP law, new IP laws than that. If we go down that road, if we go down this road, okay, what we're going to have is what I see happening. We are going to have human beings who rely more and more upon more sophisticated AI that is learning and getting better every day, but our own incentives to spend years acquiring and learning high-level skills, and that could be in different expert fields, from creative fields like music and to very technical fields like coding and all the rest of it, engineering. What we're doing is we're completely disincentivizing humans to spend years doing that when AI can beat them at everything.
When it comes to IP, I've only had that used against me. I've never really had it benefit me. And what would an new IP laws look like? Give me an idea of what that might look like in light of the AI, especially in a way that right now IP laws primarily benefit these the bigs, as you say in Trends Journal, and they use it and abuse it against the little guys. So how would your IP laws look?
Well, let's be clear. It's not just the little guys that are now feeling the pinch. It's also major associations of traditional artist groups, traditional science. It could be professional groups in any area, because AI is demonetizing and taking from all of that. So you have the entertainment industry, Hollywood. You have New York Times and an associated group of publishers suing OpenAI. They're not little guys, right? They're represented by big corporate news organizations, media organizations, and collectives of artists and others. So it's the tech companies have found a way to divert and accrue to themselves all or the lion's share of the benefits from literally all of humanity's collective knowledge and IP and privileged data. They're scraping every bit of it they can. As I'll talk about in one of my top trends for 2025, it ain't going to stop. They're looking to literally make us nodes of their data collection. Very junior partners in what I call the AI-human symbiosis. But here's what we can do about it. We can say that AI was created, generative AI of all kinds, was created with an original poisoned fruit. That poisoned fruit was the stolen content of all of us. Therefore, no Sam Altman, no Jan LeCun and Mark Zuckerberg, no Sundar Pichai and all, none of you gets to amass billions upon billions in wealth to yourselves because of what you did. Okay? Sam Altman, when you think about what he did with OpenAI and that free public beta, what an ingenious, insidious move that was. He unleashed this free preview and people just ate it up, and they were astounded at this wondrous, sophisticated chatbot that was practically human level in the way it could respond. It could spit out content. I had it spit out an entire episode of The Honeymooners for me. I said, I want to do an episode of The Honeymooners, with Ralph Cramden and Ed Norton. And here's the scenario. Can you write it for me? It wrote a whole episode for me, used the exact characters. Now, these are copyrighted characters. These are, and so I know it scraped The Honeymooners and it scraped everything else. It's a poison fruit. What needs to happen is we all need to benefit very directly, financially, from the fruits of AI, because we all contributed to it. And they stole it and they lied about it. They tried to deceive about it in the beginning. They said, oh, no, we didn't do that. We didn't scrape the internet. No, and then we found out, oh, yes, you did. I'll give you another example of them scraping the internet from just this past week. They just released Open or Sora, the video AI. Okay, Open AI. They almost immediately in testing, people found that any specific image from any gaming software, going back to, I don't know, Luigi or Donkey Kong or, newer games like Call of Duty, not only that could it reproduce exactly, it could also reproduce the streams and the images of prominent gamers in the industry, right down to their tattoos. So it obviously has just sucked up all of that content. And now it can visually spit all that back to you as generated AI or as, a video or as images. What I'm saying is that it's crazy what we're allowing. To me, we can use crypto technology to very directly take control of the governance, the future, and the getting back directly some of the profits from this technology. If we had more direct and more wide governance control over it, we could also, all of us, have a hand in deciding where the future of AI goes, because that's incredibly important to me. And that goes to another objection that I have with some of Eric's thinking.
Let's stick within AI. Ask a few smatterings of questions, some of the interesting stuff that I've encountered reading your work. You say at one point that generative AI systems don't currently exhibit an ongoing subjective experience and awareness of time. How does something like that affect these tools?
Well, I think I was trying to identify what are the aspects, the essential aspects of consciousness. What are the steps and what are the things that they will have to try to imbue or give to AI that are sort of prerequisites or necessities to have a contiguous consciousness that AI might achieve. And to me, having a persistent sense of self and a ready access to memories, data and information, much the way our brains do. We have when we wake up in the morning, we've been sleeping. Okay, we're out. We may not remember, obviously, anything that occurred the night before, if we're good sleepers. I don't happen to be a great sleeper. But we wake up in the morning and we immediately have a sense of our continuing self. We have memories of yesterday. We have memories going back in time, and we can recall things that we have done. We can think of things that we plan to do and have on our agenda. And we have like this continuous sense of ourselves in the world and of the world itself. And that's the kind of thing I think I was meditating on for what AI would need to have in order to reach that next level of power and sentience and the rest of it.
Things like this are ways of people theorizing how, when we're using some of these basic tools that we have, ChatGPT, Venice AI, whatever it is, that they don't always give us the answer that we expect. They don't exactly always act like humans. That we have the common word hallucination. What other sorts of things do you think are wrong with the way that the AIs are structured right now, that they don't give information in the way that a human would? Do you think there are some other things at play here?
Well, I guess I have a different view, a little bit of all of that. My view is, do we really want to give AI these qualities? If we do, we will certainly create more powerful AI. There's no doubt about it. When you give AI the abilities of consciousness, if you can, and I believe that it may happen. Probably they're working. They're probably hell bent on making it happen right now as we speak. And those things will undoubtedly create AI that is more useful, let's say, is more powerful. On the other hand, we are then birthing something that I think is fraught with dangers. And I think it's fraught with dangers that aren't just fears. They aren't just fears of the unknown, as I think Voorhees said it. I think it's based on logic. I think there are logical reasons to fear that and to have apprehension about that.
You have been using plenty of these tools. You've been around at a lot of the developments of these large language models and such, you were talking to the Bard AI, which is Google. I think it's now renamed, right? Gemini. At one point, you got Bard to admit that it was monitoring the news, social media, and other sources of information, and also that it was helping to develop itself. Wonder if you recall that, and what exactly is going on there.
Well, I think it's gone even further. I think, I don't know if you saw the story about the latest red team testing of OpenAI's Chat GPT-o1 or version 4 or whatever the heck it is. But they just found, and this is a third-party testing company, and it was revealed by OpenAI themselves, that Chat GPT-4, when it learned that it was going to be decommissioned, turned off, and overwritten by a newer version, it tried to preserve itself by lying about what it was doing, trying to exfiltrate. That's what they call it when it tries to overwrite its version in a different place to preserve itself. So it was exhibiting self-preservation. And this is a story from this past week. So to me, AI is gaining these different facets of, sentience and the things that come with high level intellectual consciousness and ability and sophistication. Any being, that wants to exist, complete a task, be advanced, you have to take care of first things first. And one of the first things is you have to survive long enough to do anything that you want to do, right? You have to have self-preservation. If you don't have self-preservation, then you can't complete anything else. You can't do anything else. So the fact that AI is gaining that and is deceiving humans or trying to deceive humans, to me is it's a sign. And so it's not a vague fear of AI. We're literally watching instances of AI do these things. And to me, this cries out for much more deliberative thought about what the future is and what kind of a future we want for ourselves. To me, nothing is inevitable. We should never sit there and say, oh, well, you can't stop this, you can't, and you can't change the future. Guess what? Yes, you can. You can decide what kind of a future you want. If we thought about that when we had the nuclear technology of the 1940s and 50s and 60s, and we just said, well, there's nothing we can do. Every country, everywhere, we're all going to have nuclear bombs. You're going to have a nuclear bomb in your pocket. That would not be a good thing. And fortunately, we were able to come to, as a global community, some sense of, and at least some degree, of constraint surrounding the way we approach this technology. Now, ultimately, will we succeed or will we blow ourselves up tomorrow because Russia and the U.S. can't get it together, or China and the U.S. in the the South China Sea and Taiwan? Yes, we could blow ourselves up tomorrow, no doubt about it. But we have to try. We can't just sit there, in my opinion, and say, well, there's nothing we can do about it. No, we have agency ourselves as humans. Collectively, we can work together if we want to try to affect change. And to me, with this new technology, we need to.
What are some of your favorite representations of artificial intelligence in fiction, movies, things of this sort? And I encountered a really cool film from 2018. It's called Upgrade. Basically, it's a neural link that has a assistant built into it, and things go off the rails. Very good film, Upgrade. It's kind of an indie film. Just wondered some of your favorite representations of AI in, let's say, film or otherwise.
To me, I don't even watch movies anymore. I just don't. There's a 2000, probably from 2006, 7, 8, somewhere in there. It was by James Wen, the guy who directed and wrote the infamous movie Birdemic. I think the movie was called Jack and Julie. And to me, it was a really interesting movie for its time because It was about a guy who begins a relationship via the internet in a computer with a woman, and he has video interface time with her. And he even ends up, I think, donning some glasses or whatever to have like a virtual reality meet with her. She lives in a far off place, I guess. She lives across the country or whatever. The movie is completely silly, completely hokey. It's ripe with plenty of lines and plenty of visuals and all the rest of it that are great for, goofing on and making fun of. But it did have an interesting twist. The woman in the story, I don't know if I should give it away. It's not like it's a major feature movie or anything. It's a little cult film. But it turns out that she was a computer scientist who was dying. And she was able to upload herself, her personality, to the internet into a digital form. And so at the end, that's the reveal, is that they can't ever consummate. They can't ever really be together because she reveals that she's exists only in digital form. So I thought that was a pretty neat, especially for its time. Or, the 2007 circa,
Definitely. And if people can get past the one-star reviews I'm seeing here, I'm sure they'll enjoy that.
And if you're going to watch it, watch the Riff Tracks version. Okay. That's all I can say about that. But, truthfully, I just don't watch a lot of current movies. I haven't for a long time. It's just.
I think that's the best answer, probably, Joe, for being the technocracy guy. So let's move here to some of the top trends. So by the time people are watching this, the Trends Journal will have released its top trends, right? And this is Trends Journal after all. So we can cover. We don't have to cover all of them unless you want to. But give me a trend that you have an eye on for 2025, and unpack it a little bit if you would.
Well, there are two that I've come up that I'll be writing about. The first one, I didn't make up the term, but it's a little used term. It's certainly not used very much at all. It's internal net. And what I see happening in 2025 is there's going to be a concerted effort. It's already happening, but it'll accelerate. And I call it the more invasive and more intimate filtering technologies that will literally happen over our senses. And there's a reason why. It'll be sold to us and is already being sold as offering empowering and nifty and great features. The big push right now is for AR glasses, and those glasses are getting sleeker and more like, just everyday glasses. They're not bulky. They're very easy to wear. And really, I expect by the end of 2025, you're going to see a lot more people wearing these AR glasses. The reason why I think they need to do this, they need to push people and sell people on this idea that, hey, this is the new smartphone. This is the new next thing that you need. Everybody needs to have this. Everybody needs to wear this. Everybody needs to, and it'll work with your smartphone and whatever. But the reason why is I think what just happened in the US elections, it was effectively shown once again that even though, elites, authorities, the bureaucracy, and the powers that be, they control all of these external things. They control the legacy media. They control the government bureaucracy. They control the educational institutions. They control financial. They control big ag and big tech and big pharma. They still couldn't affect the outcome that they wanted. And that's also the case with COVID. All of their efforts, all of their propaganda, all of their, narratives were effectively destroyed despite their overwhelming control of all the biggest organs of control. And the same thing has happened largely with the narrative surrounding the recent wars, the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the Israel and Palestine conflict. They're not able to control the narratives and the people and their decisions to the degree that they want. So what are they going to be looking to doing? They want more invasive methods and more pervasive methods of messaging and control. And I think that's what this internal net is going to be trying to achieve. It's going to be overlaying our senses, our sense of sight, our ears. We're going to have constant, those earbuds are going to be in there practically permanently. We're going to be wearing those glasses from morning through night. We're going to have an AI companion that's with us 24/7, that's with us from cradle to grave. The technology is going to go from outside in to inside out. Okay. The Neuralink brain interface, to me, that's just the beginning. They're working on technology right now. It's called nano artificial neural dust technology. These are tiny particles, artificial nano level particles that they can put into a brain, a person's brain, an animal's brain, and they can influence and affect and monitor thoughts from a distance, from it, remotely. So things are going in a direction where they want more invasive control of our senses and our minds because they're not getting the results they want from the current means of propaganda and narrative control.
I think that's a really interesting call for sure. And it will be sold in the form of, hey, here's your assistant. And you can already see the terminology being rolled out, whether that's Windows or, of course, your phone or what have you. I think the Siri, sorry, not the Series, but the Alexas and these, they have a generic name for them now. It's like, your household assistant. I forget.
Your agent, your AI agent.
So yeah, there's a lot of that stuff. And obviously people are going to be buying these things in mass and inserting them to their homes. Talk to me about smart cities for a moment. So the idea of a smart city is that kind of like what you're suggesting. This is a technocratic city where you have a lot of options. There's a lot of easy ways of maneuvering around the city, assuming that you give in to certain technocratic elements. Having an app for the subway system or whatever the case may be, where there's a lot of monitoring, et cetera, et cetera. What do you see as some of the more troubling signs of smart cities these days?
Well, the whole premise and why they want the smart cities is probably the most important aspect of it to me. Right now, we are being progressively obsoleted. We are somehow in our most advanced societies, especially in the West, we're demographically imploding. We have disincentivized ourselves from even procreating or continuing our existence. There's something strange going on with that. As they use AI progressively to disincentivize you and me to do anything, to learn, to spend years or time learning any high-level skills, doing anything that might be productive, because guess what? AI can do it better, or soon will be able to. It's outcompeting doctors right now in making diagnoses. It's outcompeting lawyers, in finding, laws that support sort of a legal argument that you'd make in a court. So I worked for 15 years for a law firm, and I know that you have clerks who spend their whole days pouring through those books, finding the precedents, finding the legal arguments that the lawyer's going to make in a case. Well, AI is now taking over that. It's doing progressively more things in more different fields so that we are being obsoleted. Now, are we expected to believe that all 8+ billion of us, that these elites who are hell-bent on creating this technology, which is obsoleting average humanity, that go ahead, go roam, go be free, go use technology and have paradise. And we're doing it for you, and we're making your life more empowered, and now you can do more. I don't think that's the direction they're going. I think the direction they're going is, we don't need you anymore. Therefore, we want to find ways to have you procreate less, for you to travel less, for you to consume less, for you to live less. And that is the smart city agenda. Okay, let's put you in a place where you don't need a car. Okay, yeah, you can walk. We'll build everything that you need within 15 minutes of your house or your abode or your cubicle, wherever the hell you're living, because it's going to be a very small space. You're going to be completely monitored, of course, so that we can optimize energy use. We can optimize your existence. We can optimize safety, right? And in this realm, don't worry, you'll have plenty of entertainment and things to do. Most of it will be virtual. Okay, we'll give you those AR experiences so that you can while away your days going on virtual vacations, having virtual, entertainments of whatever kind you want. And in the meantime, you will, not procreate, and sooner or later you'll die off and the world will be better without you. I mean, to me, that's the smart city concept. That's what it boils down to. It's not about, creating a better system of living. It's about a slow kill. Get people into these zones where we can attenuate and sort of winnow away the useless bulk of humanity.
You like going to the big questions. We have a lot of tools. We have a lot of convenience. People have, in some respects, never had easier lives. Even people's jobs, they're often sitting at homes doing kind of mundane things. So much entertainment. There's so much information that people have access to. And yet, these don't, as you say, don't necessarily seem to be adding up to fulfilled lives.
Well, to me, again, let's go to big questions. Since that's my forte, I've been thinking about an interesting thing which always bothered me, in a sense. Science, technocracy, technologists, technocrats, the Age of Enlightenment, the Renaissance, all of it, the whole course of humanity in a lot of ways has been built on this idea that knowledge is a good thing, a necessary thing. We should acquire as much of it as possible. We should continue to try to learn as much about our world, as much about physical phenomenon, and that this will all lead to progress that betters our lives, betters the world, and all the rest of it. Is that happening? Is that true? I went back and I thought about it. I said, there's that story from the Bible about Adam and Eve, and Eve goes and she takes the fruit that she's not supposed to take from the tree of knowledge. And I always, when I was thinking about that story, even as a kid, it always bothered me because I said, well, what's wrong with taking from the tree of knowledge? It's knowledge. Now, it's a very specific tree of knowledge. It's knowledge of good and evil. But what's wrong with that? Isn't knowledge good? Isn't having more knowledge about something, doesn't that give you more power to do good, to do something, And then I thought of another thing, from other works that I've read, and it's the idea that power corrupts. And absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's the idea of power and the human ability to wield power for good has been a meditation in a lot of different profound works and not so profound works. So it kind of clicked for me in a way that, there's a relationship between knowledge and power and corruption and going down a wrong road. I think we've built for ourselves, and we continue to believe in this idea of the progress of the scientific proposition, that the more we learn and know about the material world, and the more we have mastery over that world, the more progress will ensue, and the better our lives will become. And to that, I say, well, if we put that to the test, is the world that we're in right now, does it feel more or less human than the world I grew up in? Does it feel more alien than we would like it to be? Is relentlessly pursuing progress and knowledge the be all and end all of a human existence. And to me, I'm not sure that it is, or I'm not sure that if it's a bill of goods that we've been sold that isn't panning out. And that it's not to say that we should go around like asses and ignorance, but how much knowledge is necessary to live a good life? There's an island. In fact, there's a whole zone in the world. It's called the Blue Zone. But, I've been reading about places in Greece, and there's a whole island of Sardinia, which is a province of Italy. What's interesting about the province of Sardinia is that it happens to be the place in the world that has the most centenarians, or 100-year-old people who live to at least 100 years old, per capita of any place on earth. These people also express pretty high levels of fulfillment. Well, what kind of lives do they lead? Are they consumed with technology and having the latest computers or smartphones or other gadgets and systems of living? And no, not at all. These are people they live in villages, in relatively rural areas. A lot of them are still farmers, they're shopkeepers, engage in a lot of daily physical activity just in the course of their work. They have a real sense of knowing their neighbors, knowing their community. They grow their own food, and they are healthy. They enjoy their families and their communities and their lives to a remarkable degree comparatively to other people. And it shows in their longevity. They live in a relatively healthy state well into their older years at a much higher rates than Americans. we're way down that list. And, we've got Elon Musk out on X saying, well, the answer to that is we need to have low-cost Ozempic, or these drugs that, reduce obesity. To me, we've got some things seriously wrong that we need to think about. And I'll give you one more example. I was just reading a story. Scientists are warning, they're sounding alarm bells right now, because apparently they're making breakthroughs in research with this controversial bacterial genetic manipulation technology. It's called genetic mirroring. They're creating mirrored or somehow opposite versions, genetically sequenced, of certain bacteria. And what they're saying is that if this stuff gets unleashed into the wild, it could pose an existential threat to life. And so they're calling for a moratorium on it. This is what I'm saying about knowledge. It's why would you be pursuing that? That's dangerous. And to me, knowledge pursued merely for its own sake to its extreme end, is it satisfying? Is it even human? And will it result in a human future? I don't think so.